Rice is life. A symbol of Indian culture, heritage and identity, it is the staple food for over 1 billion people in the world, including 65% of the Indian population. Rice cultivation is therefore a major source of rural employment and livelihood. India is the second largest producer of rice in the world, contributing 40% to the national food basket and a leading exporter of basmati and superfine rice to the tune of 4,000 to 5,000 crore rupees annually. However, rapid population growth, a decline in the productivity growth rate, and reduced availability of land, labor, water and other resources are making the task of feeding the population in future quite daunting. The need of the hour is to save every grain of rice that is grown. In this context, preventing avoidable losses due to various pests assumes importance. The rice crop hosts many pests and diseases, besides facing competition from weeds. These lead to substantial losses in yield and hampers the production potential of the crop. The average loss in yield can range from 25% to 33% on an overall basis. Since the days of the Green Revolution, Indian farmers have been using pesticides to minimize crop losses. An estimated 17% of the total pesticides used in India are on the rice crop. Unfortunately, the indiscriminate use of pesticides has led to the retention of toxic residues in the grain, plants, soil, water and air, posing health hazards to the people, livestock and other organisms. It has also led to a reduction in the biodiversity of natural enemies and in turn to the outbreak of secondary pests and even pesticide-induced resurgence of primary pests. The long-term use of a single class of pesticide has led to the build-up of resistance in the pest population to this class of pesticide, which calls for the application of a higher dose of the same pesticide or new chemicals. In this context, the concept of integrated pest management, or IPM for short, has received recognition the world over. An eco-friendly strategy, IPM envisages a judicious mix of different techniques such as the adoption of resistant varieties, suitable agronomic practices, balanced use of fertilizers, habitat manipulation, biological control, and need-based application of pesticides. Being a location-specific approach, when implemented on a village or community basis, the IPM ensures optimum benefits. The Directorate of Rice Research in Hyderabad, or the DRR, has been playing a crucial role in developing IPM modules for the rice crop and implementing them throughout the country. The magnitude of the problem posed by pests and diseases can be gauged from the fact that there are over 100 insect pests affecting the rice crop, and the average yield loss due to them is estimated to range between 21 and 51%. Of these, major pests are the stem borers, the gall midge, the brown and white-backed plant hoppers, and the leaf folder. Other minor pests of regional importance are the hispa, the gandhi bug, the caseworm, and emerging pests like the leaf and barnacle mites. Rodents like rats can become major problems in certain areas. Fortunately, not all pests pose serious problems all the time. On the contrary, population of most of these pests are regulated by their natural enemies and the harsh environment. Besides, the rice plant, being naturally resilient, can also make good for some injury inflicted by these insects. However, when farmers apply non-recommended pesticides, it causes more harm than good. Most natural enemies are eliminated along with pests. But pests recover early, and in the absence of a regulatory force, their populations rapidly increase to cause epidemics. The rice crop also suffers from many diseases caused by fungi, bacteria, and viruses. These include blast, sheath blight, bacterial leaf blight, and tungro virus disease. Of late, false smut and grain discoloration have emerged as major problems. Buckane, udbata, and leaf scald are some of the other minor fungal diseases. Weeds pose a problem by competing for nutrition, water, space, and light with the main rice crop. Grasses, sedges, and broad-leaved weeds are very common in rice fields. Early identification and timely management of all these are important. IPM is highly location and situation specific and is largely knowledge intensive and involves management skills. Hence, a community approach involving groups of farmers is highly recommended. The basic strategy for IPM should be planned well before the crop season and be amenable to modulation. A key pest approach is one of the options at this stage. The farmer should decide his variety, keeping in mind the pest problems of the area in the immediate past and other considerations. As many as 51 varieties resistant to the gall midge, 25 to the brown plant hopper, 2 to the green leaf hopper, and 2 to the white-backed plant hopper are available. More than 250 varieties resistant to the blast, 70 varieties for the bacterial leaf blight and the rice tungro virus disease have been released for cultivation in different ecosystems. If a farmer chooses a variety resistant to the key pest of the area, he should plan for the other cultural components like the time of planting, method of crop establishment like transplanting versus direct seeding, considering other pest problems likely to be encountered. If seed treatment is required, as in the blast endemic areas, it should be done prior to the sowing. In the event of delayed rains or the late availability of irrigation water, contingency plans should be prepared to cope with the delayed plantings with old seedlings or delayed sowing, again keeping in view the consequences on the pest incidence and build-up. In order to effectively monitor pest problems in the nursery and take appropriate remedial measures, nurseries should be raised as small narrow strips with irrigation canals in between rather than as a large stretch of area. Healthy seedlings are a prerequisite for a healthy crop. Any outbreak of migratory pests like the rice hispa or of a regular pest like the gall midge or the stem borer may necessitate nursery treatment. In case of early build-up of stem borers or the gall midge in the neighboring main fields, nursery treatment prior to uprooting is an economic option. Periodic pest surveillance is a key factor in any effective IPM program. The greater the frequency and precision of monitoring these, the higher will be the benefits of the IPM. This requires the scientific sampling methods. The information generated from pest surveillance can be qualitative like the presence or absence of a pest, or quantitative, like damage in percentage or number of insects per unit area or per plant. This information can be used to know the current status of the pest incidence and predict future changes in pest density. The economic threshold or ET values indicate when to initiate pest control measures to check further build-up of the pest to those levels that cause economic loss. Empirical ET values are available for different pests and for different crop stages. These can be considered as a guideline and can be further refined with the farmer's own experience. A few thumb rules have also been developed that suggest when to resort to control measures considering the ratio of the pests to their natural enemies. The basic precept of IPM: one should never resort to preventive control measures involving chemical pesticides. The use of synthetic organic pesticides should be strictly need-based and only as the last resort. However, a host of alternative, eco-friendly measures of intervention are available. These include the use of pheromone traps for stem borers and the release of trichogramma against the leaf folder, etc. A realistic evaluation needs to be made as to the economic gain of such preventive measures. When the pest crosses the economic threshold and when all other alternative measures either fail to contain the pest or are too slow to prevent the loss, chemical pesticide application is justified. Before doing that, though, here are some do's and don'ts to follow. Consult an expert to select the most suitable pesticide for the situation. Use correct doses, not less. Mix the right amount of pesticide with the right amount of water prior to spraying. Use protective clothing while applying insecticide. Maintain the right level of water in the field while applying granular formulations. Do not be guided by the advice of your pesticide dealer. Do not mix different pesticides in the spray tank. Do not use a lower dose to save money. Thus, the integration of host plant resistance, proper cultural management practices, biological control strategies, and need-based chemical control can lead to a bumper harvest and high economic returns for the farmers, as well as ensure a safe and clean environment.